Today we are looking at absolute value equations. We are going to spend 3 days talking about absolute value equations and inequalities. We could probably do it in 2, but we're going to spend 3 days on it so that it's all super easy and makes complete sense. So the first day of this is, remember that absolute value is a number that it tells you how far that number is from 0. Note, distance is always positive. So, the number 3. How far is 3 away from 0? 3. 3 is 3 units from 0. The absolute value of -3. How many units from 0 is -3? 3. Notice that absolute value makes everything positive because it's indicating how many units from 0 that number is, and distance is always positive. We're going to talk about this stuff a little bit as we do the examples, but our general steps today are going to be get the absolute value alone, like take a look at 5 and 6. Do you see how in numbers 5 and 6 there's something else besides the absolute value there? We'd have to get rid of that first and then deal with the absolute value. Once we have the absolute value alone, we're going to talk about how many possible solutions there's going to be, 2, 1, or none, and then solve. So number 1, the absolute value of x. Where on the number line are we 7 units away from 0? At 7 and at -7. 7 is 7 units away from 0. -7 is 7 units from 0. Those are your 2 solutions. Number 2, the absolute value of x equals 0. Remember, absolute value represents distance, so where on the number line are we 0 units away from 0? At 0. So our only solution is x equals 0. Number 3, absolute value of x equals 2/3. Where are we 2/3 of a unit away from 0? At 2/3 and at -2/3. Okay, number 4, the absolute value of x equals -2. Where on the number line are we -2 units away from 0? It is not possible to be -2 units away from 0 because distance is always positive. So if your absolute value equals a negative number, that means no solutions. So let's take a look at these 4 problems. If absolute value equals a positive number, we ended up with 2 solutions. If the absolute value equaled 0, we ended up with 1 solution. And if the absolute value equaled a negative number, we had no solutions. So you may want to jot in there, if the absolute value equals a positive number, it's 2 solutions. If the absolute value equals 0, it's 1 solution. And if absolute value equals a negative number, it is no solutions. All right. So let's give this a try. Number 5, the absolute value of x plus 1 equals 10. That plus 1 is troublesome. We need to get rid of it. How do we get rid of plus 1? -1. So the absolute value of x equals 9. Where on the number line can we be 9 units away from 0? At +9 and at -9. Number 6, the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 4. Our first step is to get rid of the 5, which will give us absolute value of x equals -1. Because the absolute value equals a negative number, there are no solutions. It is not possible for absolute value to equal a negative number. Okay. Number 7. We cannot subtract 2 in number 7 because 2 is inside the absolute value bars. So there's nothing added after the absolute value bars. There's nothing multiplied in front, so we're ready to solve. Where this stuff is supposed to be 4 units away from 0. Where on the number line are we 4 units away from 0? At 4 and at -4. So set up two equations, one of them equaling 4 and one of them equaling -4. Absolute value represents the distance from 0, and these things have to be 4 units from 0, so +4 and -4. As you solve this, you can actually do the same step on both equations straight across to save you time. That will give you 3x equals 2 and 3x equals -6. So x equals 2/3 and x equals -2. All right, give number 8 a try on your own. I think you'll like number 8. So we have to subtract 5 first. That gives us the absolute value of 2x plus 1 equals 0. Where on the number line are we 0 units away from 0? At 0. So this becomes just one equation, 2x plus 1 equals 0. And we have to solve that. X equals -1/2. All right, number 9. We're slowly making this look a little bit more complex. What do you think we need to do in number 9? Subtract 3. So the absolute value of 3x minus 1 equals -2. Because absolute value equals a negative number, distance can't be negative, there are no solutions. You all really like those problems because it means less work, right? There's one really important thing about number 10 that we need to make sure we cover. The first thing that we would do is subtract 1 on both sides. Now, do you notice that when I draw my absolute value bars, I make them a lot longer than they probably need to be? That's so that I don't confuse them with the 1. The big thing that I want you to remember in number 10 is you cannot distribute. Absolute value bars are kind of like parentheses, but they're not. You cannot distribute into absolute value bars. So to get rid of this 2, since we can't distribute, we would have to divide both sides by 2. So the absolute value of x plus 1 equals 3. Where on the number line are we 3 units away from 0? At 3 and -3. So x plus 1 equals 3. X plus 1 equals -3. Solve both equations. Our two solutions are x equals 2 and x equals -4.